I wonder if there's anyone that actually still unironically watches the news and keeps up with current events, not out of a void of boredom or lack of purpose in life, but actually watches mainstream media and news unironically. Now you probably heard the phrase that life is just a game, just growing up or throughout your life. It helps you compartmentalize the things you have to do to get to where you want to be. And where you want to be for almost every single person in this world is usually somewhere along the lines of financial, career, status, material, etc., right? I mean, this is how society defines quote-unquote success, and taking steps towards this quote-unquote success is what people live for, their dopamine, their meaning, their purpose, the reason for waking up every day, etc. But what about those that obtained all of this, right? What about the Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates, Warren Buffett's, Mark Zuckerberg's, Elon Musk of the world, who have a large-scale influence on society or culture? Where's their head at, right? By the way, these aren't the richest people in the world, these are only the richest people that are in the public eye that we know of. I mean, there's a bunch of people that work in the shadows, people that own international banks, families that move trillions of dollars, etc. But back to my point, what about those individuals who have obtained every ounce of quote-unquote success society tells you will make you happy? What about them? Do they just chill on a yacht, smoking cigars, spending the rest of their days pretending like they know how to golf and play chess and do nothing? Nah, of course not. And I kind of spoke about this previously, but no matter what your circumstances, everything eventually becomes normalized. Everything becomes boring inevitably. I mean, it's only so many Lamborghinis, yachts, fancy vacations, designer brands, and mansions you can buy before it all gets boring and meaningless. And Squid Games, which I'm sure every one of you guys saw, kind of touched on this concept of life kind of becoming meaningless after riches when it turned out a bunch of these loan sharks just got bored of life after wealth and decided to create a game to watch people play. And the point I'm making is this has to do with human nature. The billionaires you see in the public eye who again have obtained every amount of quote-unquote success in the world, naturally they want to influence their power and control to mold the world to how they want it to be. I think it's just a natural human progression when you achieve that quote-unquote success. And it sounds kind of nefarious and probably is to a degree. I mean, Bill Gates, someone who has the same medical experience as you and I combined, is knee-deep in VACCINES for whatever reason you can speculate on your own. And the guy's spoken religiously about giving the you-know-what to the entire world. I mean, the guy can't even prevent Microsoft computers from getting viruses, and you're telling me he's gonna prevent humans from getting them? Yeah, okay. And Mark Zuckerberg is currently creating a real-life matrix, an augmented reality that's something out of a wild quote-unquote conspiracy theorist's imagination. And it was kind of funny, I was watching that video and he was trying to make it seem like the most normal thing ever, but for some reason the guy just comes off just kind of odd. Like, I don't think anyone watched that and thought, oh, this seems totally normal. And Elon Musk is trying to get to Mars. The guy literally wants to establish human beings on another planet. I mean, it goes on and on, you guys get the point. And the reason for this is because of power and control, and I'll explain why. For example, you don't think someone like Bill Gates, being the nerd he is, gets off on having a god complex or a savior complex? Because he definitely has one, much like many of these individuals in this little billionaire club. And when you think about it, after a lot of these individuals become millionaires, the natural progression is to want to be a billionaire. And if you ask why, the answer is simple. Human nature always wants more and more. And being in this elusive club of rich elites is status. And status is power. And we're all slaves to our ego. Status is power, status is validation, and our egos want status. Another example, you don't think Fauci gets off on being the quote-unquote hero of all this? Cause you can tell he eats it up, having the documentaries glorifying him after probably being invisible his whole life. Or you don't think Elon Musk gets off on being on shows and Saturday Night Live telling him how great he is, especially when he's socially awkward? And by the way, I'm not even saying they're bad or good people specifically, although with the few I mentioned you can probably guess for yourself. And yeah, you can say and pretend they're doing it for the betterment of the world, but it'd be a lot more accurate to say they're trying to mold the world to how they view it or how they want the world to be. And are some people going to benefit? Yeah, for sure, but a lot of people are also going to suffer. No matter what, as human beings, we are all slaves to our emotions, slaves to our feelings. I mean, why do you want to be rich? So you can live a certain lifestyle and it'll make you feel good. Why do you want to live in a mansion or drive a luxurious car? Because of how other people will perceive you and you think it'll make you feel good. Why do some people want fame? Because the validation from people makes them feel good. Being popular and having a bunch of strangers love you, that makes you feel good. Or why do people want status? To be perceived a certain way and it makes them feel good. I mean, let's take an optimistic approach. Let's say you want to be rich so you can be the most charitable person in the world to give back, right? Inherently, that's still because it makes you feel good. And in that sense, we're all slaves to our emotions no matter what. However, power and control is something that's different from all these other material or superficial desires. Because more than fast cars and yachts and mansions and a luxurious lifestyle, power and control is something that feeds that dark side of our egos, and it's something that doesn't expire. In other words, power and the exertion of power and search for power has no limitation. I mean, it's actually the reason for almost every single negative circumstance in the world. I mean, every major war that's happened is because of how power and control attacks that side of human nature specifically. I mean, human beings don't need to fight and kill each other, they just can't help it, regardless of what you think. Especially when you put groups of people in governance. I mean, this is a pretty basic understanding, but it's why there's never been any system of government that hasn't had corruption, whether it be on a larger scale or lesser scale. Naturally, corruption, power, and dissenting ideologies will happen. It happens all the time. It happens in your friend groups, your workspace, your coworkers. We're just seeing it play out on a world stage. And the reason the exertion of power and control is different from all those superficial desires is because power and control is something that doesn't ever get old, because it can take an infinite amount of forms and can literally apply in almost every situation. It's part of human nature. While fast cars, designer brands, yachts, mansions, those are all things that have nothing to do with our inherent desires. Rather, these are desires that were made up by society, conditioning us that these are things that we should live for and will make us happy. Everything, and I mean literally everything in relation to society, government, and the world can be attributed to power and control. The education system, big tech, corporate mainstream news and media and pharmaceutical companies, pop culture, even to our taxes and finances and everything in our day-to-day lives. Everything, even in a supposed quote-unquote democratic governance, the government will always impose laws that make sure you subconsciously remember that they are above you. Like, even throughout this whole quote-unquote pandemic, they gave you stimulus checks, imposed mandates that make no sense. It's equivalent to throwing a dog a bone so they're subservient to their owners. It's like, you play nice and we'll give you a treat. And yeah, some people attribute it to financial incentives, and on a lower level it probably is, but I think ultimately it goes back to power and control. Except one of the things they've been having a really hard time controlling, they being the big tech corporations and government entities, is the internet. The internet is still really new. It's barely been around for 2 decades, and through the internet a lot of people have been able to find quote-unquote glitches in the matrix. It's kind of like a double-edged sword when you think about it. And right now when it comes to censorship, even to the degree of removing dislikes on videos, which by the way is clearly to protect videos about the virus and government and media and big tech, etc. It's actually kind of funny. Every video about Joe Biden or the virus had like an 80% dislike ratio. It's insane. And it's not even like far-right channels. It's like MSNBC, CNN, White House, CDC, those channels. There's kind of a power struggle between free-thinking, creative, and entrepreneurial individuals. It's kind of like this great awakening you've been hearing about, where people are starting to quote-unquote wake up to things going on. But there's also the government, big tech elites trying to gain control of the internet. So right now it's kind of like this uncontrollable vortex, and everyone's trying to take advantage of it accordingly to their goals. I mean, it definitely put holes through the quote-unquote matrix or system, but also works for it at the same time. It's a weird dynamic. And that power and control works because the world is filled with dumbass sheep. Going back to my point on money and the role that plays in society and controlling the masses. See, when you have a little money, right? You buy a car, you buy a house, whatever, right? You create a normal life for yourself. When you start getting into the multi-millions and billions, you start to use that money for power and control. Those superficial material items no longer satiate the human desires. This is where corruption happens and takes place in the form of power and control. For example, they buy and sell politicians all the time, right? They use their money to influence big tech corporations and media and even pop culture to push their agendas. And yeah, there's no end. This has happened throughout the course of human history and will continue to happen. The only reason why we're able to see it now is because of the internet, so in a way it's kind of backfiring. I mean, I'm barely scratching the surface and I could talk about this way more extensively, but the point is, every single day, every week, every month, every year, there's going to be constantly more and more things happening in the world that seem to be quote-unquote crazy. Like, from here on out, it's always going to seem that way. There's never not going to be something seemingly crazy going on because that's their prerogative. It's to control the masses and find ways to exert that power. Most of them are distractions. But basically there is no end, and we're just seeing power and control be exerted in every aspect of society. That's basically the point for this commentary. The best thing you can do is focus on your life and the things that have a direct or immediate effect on your life and those around you. You know, just don't pay too much attention to things that you have no control over, because your attention and where you direct it is right up there with time and energy. Anyways, yeah, that's basically it. Kinda rambled for a bit on this one. Anyways, hope you guys are doing well. Hope you liked the video, and if you did, leave a like, comment, or sub. And with that said, make sure you guys stay true. I'll talk to you guys real soon. Peace.